for Inside Utah Politics with Lindsay Aerts.
Well, welcome in. I am Lindsay Aerts. Thanks for being here today. News 4 Utah Plus is our free TV streaming app. We are grateful that you found us, whether it's here or on YouTube or a link off X or Instagram, wherever you found us. Thanks for being here. Joining me today, Rusty Cannon, Leah Murray. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are we? Tell us who you are, what you do.
Rusty Cannon with the Utah Credit Union Association.
And I'm Leah Murray. I'm political science professor up at Weber State University.
Neither of you speak for your organizations. We just
Correct.
like to get that off the table and let's go.
But I someday aspire to teach a class at Weber State.
Someday?
Yes.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm free.
I think the students need a credit union class, don't you think, Leah?
Yes, Credit Union 101.
Yeah.
But then because of institutional neutrality, I'd have to bring in a bank class.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So
Sure.
Yeah.
You couldn't be seen as partisan
That's
towards credit unions.
can't be choosing credit.
That's right. Don't pick winners.
That's right. Very good. Okay, let's dive in. We had a big week in both national and local politics. We've got a legislative session coming up, so we're going to preview that in just a second. But I want to start with what's making waves nationally, and that is the possible the indictment of Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Republicans seeming to be coming to at least the defense of the institution here, maybe not the defense of Jerome Powell himself, but the probe is on whether Jerome Powell spent too much money or lied to Congress over how much money he spent with some Fed building renovations. But Jerome Powell came out. I'm going to play you this clip right now, saying that's not why he believes he is being probed.
This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president.
Leah, there you go. What do you make of that?
I mean, well, one, I find the irony of coming after Fed Chair Powell because of his building when President Trump basically tore down half the White House without ever asking anybody for permission makes me just question, the hypocrisy I don't like. But the other thing I want to say is the last time, and, do correct me if I'm wrong, Rusty, I might have this history wrong. The last time we had a president run straight at the bank, which is Andrew Jackson, like 100, 200 years ago, we ended up in an economic collapse, the likes of which it took decades to come out of in this country. I do not understand why President Trump thinks it's a good idea to go after the Federal Reserve, which has done an excellent job keeping our economy strong, keeping our inflation flat. The last inflation numbers I saw look pretty good. They're in that 2 range. So I think Jerome Powell is right. I absolutely think he's annoyed at the Fed, President Trump is, and this is why he's being investigated for something that just seems to be not a big deal, like a nothing burger.
Rusty, do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I do. Actually, this is something I'm quite frustrated with. I think this is a dangerous precedent to set, or actually I'd say a dangerous precedent to continue. You can make an argument the previous ministry. I remember Obama's enemies list. I actually worked for a guy that was on the list, and this is not new to an administration. However, this is a dangerous precedent to continue, where just for whatever reason, either side of the aisle decides to weaponize the DOJ. I think Republicans would be just as offended if the coin was flipped. I don't think it's good. You have to look, and this is a point of frustration I've had with the president lately. You have to look past your own horizon, right? It's not just about getting interest rates low for the next 2 years while you're in office. That can have harmful consequences if it's done wrong. We don't want the Fed politicized. We never would. And it's hard not to look at this and go, well, this is kind of an obvious retribution for you really job-owning, wanting lower rates. It's hard to get around that. Now, obviously, you don't want to lie to Congress, and if that's what happens, there will be consequences. But it's hard to not see this as a purely partisan attack over what he wants to see with interest rates.
How does this impact the economy, or what is the potential that could happen here when it comes to the economy?
Well, it's significant. And if this is the road you go down and stay down, you then lose credibility with the Fed in the future, where it's just politicized. And you would always have pressure to have rates low. Like it or not, any president, you have to live with the dice that have been rolled economically for you for those 4 years. You can take credit for it if it's good, but you'll get the blame if it's bad. There's nothing you can do about it. And just because President Trump wants lower rates does not mean it's the right policy. We had super low rates for a long time in previous years. That was one of the reasons that led to hyperinflation. Like, you want to return to that, apparently? But he's so focused on what's happening now, he is not playing for the team, I would say, and looking past his own horizon.
Oh my gosh, don't you think he's playing for this next election coming up, right? So
Well, yeah, but I don't. I think he's just thinking about his own legacy and his own presidency, and I think he's being selfish with it. That it's
Yeah.
not all about you for once.
yeah.
It's interesting to see you two agree.
I know, right?
So,
I know. That's right.
a little bit, I was like, what happened in the
okay,
universe?
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from here. Do I bring up some more controversial stuff just to have you guys disagree?
Oh, we'll find something.
Yeah.
Right. No, you will definitely disagree about some stuff. Let's move to
But
some
I just
things.
wanted to say, I'm
yeah,
so
yeah,
sorry.
No, go.
But like, I guess I disagree a little bit with Rusty in that your question about the economy, I don't think this conversation is good for the economy, even if I think numbers kind of look okay now, right? So I think like nothing's really hitting in this moment because, and you just, correct me if I'm wrong, like that the market really likes stability and predictability.
Yes.
And so the issue that we have here, and so I'll pick up something we talked about offline, which we don't have to go down the rabbit hole on, but at the same time that he's going after the Fed Reserve Chair, he's also like tweeting or whatever, he's on Truth
Truthing.
Social, whatever,
Truthing.
truthing, saying that we should have a 10% cap on interest rates for credit cards, right? And a little bit, I'm a credit card user, so I was like, yeah, that sounds great. But from an economic point of view, Lindsay, the way you asked that, it's that unpredictability, right? So if the world is kind of like, well, what's going to happen now? Is the interest rate going to be just at the whim of the president rather than at the expert control of the Fed, or where credit cards are making decisions based on their contracts? That, I think, maybe causes some drama.
Well, and drama, you speak of drama. If anyone wants to go look at who has the bill file open in the U.S. Senate to cap credit card interest rates at 10%, it's Bernie Sanders. Like that horseshoe coming around together is just, I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Are we living in the upside down in your world, Rusty?
Just about. Yeah.
Stranger things for Rusty.
So this is President Trump's tweet. Please be informed that we will no longer let the American public be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of 20 to 30%. He goes on to talk about how, he does want to put that cap on credit cards. I heard some analysis yesterday talking about how this could even, force people to potentially, like, people use credit cards when they're in a bind, right? When they can't afford things. They need that 30 days to be able to, pay for something and then pay it off, or just accrue the interest, right? People could turn to payday loans, things like that. That could have an impact.
Yeah, I mean, you hurt the very people you're claiming to help with a policy like this. I mean, if you cap it at 10%, that's like a credit score of, say, 740 to qualify for that. That's like 10% of credit card holders. You cut out the other 90. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's an unsecured debt. Like, you can walk away from it. And so those rates price in the defaults, and that's just how economics work. I know the president knows this.
I'm not sure he does. So we'll disagree there. But I am unclear he understands any of these economic principles.
Yeah, they're going out the window.
Interesting. Okay, we'll watch to see how the lawsuit shakes out, whether the DOJ continues to investigate and all of that. I want to turn to local news now and the legislative session preview, because it is coming. The train is barreling down the tracks. I want to start with taxes, because I did some reporting, and there have been several reports about how Utah's legislature is looking at taxes to set up this very fun discussion on taxes. Just know that we have 3 buckets.
Yeah, don't
right?
go to sleep yet.
Don't go to sleep.
I think the only one who's excited is Rusty.
That's right. It's like, I can't wait.
Property tax, income tax, our general sales
gas
general
tax
fund,
this
and
time,
then the gas tax, right, where our state money goes by and large. So the first cut that we are considering is an income tax cut, which would impact education, because there's a constitutional earmark that income tax has to pay for education. So, Rusty, when you just zoom out and look at this from a 30,000-foot level, if you continue to lower the income tax, how do you make up that money for education?
Well, I'll tell you, you have an example that'll tell you exactly what happens. That's the last 6 or 7 years. They have cut the income tax rate slowly over those 6 or 7 years. At the same time, education funding has gone up by billions.
He said 6, 7, so I had.
Did I just say 6, 7?
He did. It's
I
just
totally
doing
did.
this, and I was like, I cannot
I
believe
totally
this
missed
is
it.
happening.
I'm that
Peter,
clueless.
help.
Yes. I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah, you
okay.
did.
So, and I didn't even think I did it, which is even worse.
Because you're the older
I have 2
generation.
kids
That's right.
under 12. Come on.
But to answer your question, the actual real world example of the last 5 or 6 years,
Better.
will show you, yes, both can happen, and that's exactly what has happened, and in my opinion, would continue to happen.
So what is the solution? I mean, I feel like we have to have a tax plan overall. We either have to jack up property taxes or sales taxes.
Or reduce government spending.
Okay.
Right, but like I love that, right? So I have my good friend here who is my tax friend, but like we're not going to reduce spending, Rusty, at the same time that you were promising.
You could.
You could, but man, you were promising all these voters all these things you're going to do.
Oh,
so you're
yeah.
going to make housing affordable. You're going to make sure the roads or whatever. You're going to make sure teachers have their pay because that matters. When the firefighters come out and I mean, like we are going to respond. The government and these elected officials are going to respond to these demands. All of that requires revenue, and at some point, there's not enough juice in the squeeze in those other buckets, right? And at some point, people are going to have to stop promising an income tax reduction.
The other tax that's being considered are property tax either changes. The state kind of sets the rate, right, for property taxes, tells counties, cities, schools, local taxing entities how much they can collect. There's a consideration right now to cap that at about 5%. There's also a consideration to take down the percentage of your home value that can be taxed. Rusty, how do you feel about those proposals?
Yeah, on the second one, so the proposal is to change, it's in the state constitution that 45% of your home's value is exempt from property tax, and they would have to change the constitution. This will pass if it's on the ballot, but it is not a good policy, and I'll explain why. But so that say 50 or 55% of your home value is then exempt. So you would think it would reduce your taxes, but it really isn't going to work that way for most taxpayers or many taxpayers, because the local entities that get this tax revenue will get the same amount of revenue. It just shifts. So you shift it to businesses, to agricultural properties, to second homes, those kinds of things. And so it's not a true cut. And then in rural areas where it's mostly bedroom communities and just residential property, those local entities would just raise their tax rate to make up the difference. And so in specific cities where there's virtually no commercial, this won't help them at all. But that is not what they will say as they run the bill. They will talk about it still making some effort to reduce property taxes when in reality it is a shift.
Right.
So,
I mean, is the answer there how we make housing affordable?
No,
is
I
to
don't think
reduce-
it. No,
that's not
in
even
fact,
part of that
if you ask the
conversation.
sponsors
Okay.
of the bill, they'll admit that this would probably be a nominal reduction for many homeowners, some more than others. Just depends on how much commercial property is in your area. But they can say they've done something. I don't fault them for that. But just in my opinion, it's not the right policy.
I've noticed in politics, there's always the stated reason and then there's the actual reason, right? So you're saying the stated reason would be, oh, let's flip-flop this corporate versus residential rate and make homeowners pay less property taxes, fewer property taxes. But in reality, it's going to hurt those communities where they don't have as much commercial property.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and this is a populist tilt. Yeah, I mean, this policy is right down the populist road.
Interesting.
Oh, Rusty. This is your worst nightmare.
What are you going to do about it, Rusty?
Billy has to worry about it. I don't.
Okay.
So.
Rusty's the former president of the Taxpayers Association, which is why he's
No, you have to worry about it still.
Well, y'all do.
You're a
I say
Utah
that
citizen.
tongue
Yeah.
in cheek,
Yeah, yeah.
but
he's squirming in his seat.
there
right
are
now.
better ways for them to reduce the property tax. There's a direct way they can do it.
What is the play? I mean, what do you want to see?
Well, I've advocated for a long time. There's what's called a state basic levy. If you look at all the different line items on your property tax, the one and only one the state legislature controls, the rest are controlled by local governments, school districts mostly,
Right.
is the state basic levy. They could reduce that or eliminate it, and that would be direct reduction.
Okay.
That'll never happen.
Why?
It funds education.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. So here's my pitch. Hear me out. So y'all know I grew up in New York State, so I come from a weird place compared to Utah. And how New York pays for its education is with a lottery. And a little bit, I'm like, the number of people in this state who drove to Idaho to buy that $1 billion whatever, you could use a lottery, use all the revenues, right? A vice tax, that's basically what that is. And you could fund education, and we could have zero income tax.
Well, lottery was coming, but it was led by Representative Birkeland. She's not there anymore. So
Yeah.
you need someone else to carry that.
We need someone else to pick it up.
You also need the church's blessing if you're going to do that.
Yeah, good luck.
I don't know that I would get that.
Yeah, exactly, which is why it hasn't happened yet. That is why. Okay, I want to move to another thing that we are seeing going to be pushed this year, and that is constitutional changes. When the Senate and House came out with their priorities, as they always do, they're kind of just like high-level topics. One of those said protecting the Constitution. And I have yet to be able to get in front of lawmakers to say, what does that mean? But do you guys think it means an Amendment D type of situation? Amendment D was, initiatives can be tweaked by the legislature until the Supreme Court came in and said, no, initiatives can only be tweaked if they are narrow in scope. What do you think happens with this protecting the Constitution?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit the legislature is frustrated. Is that the right word? So maybe there's a better word, but with what they feel the judiciary is ruling, right? So, and I don't think it's just on the redistricting. I think it's across a series of, pieces of legislation that's been happening for the last few years. So a little bit, I think what they are saying is protecting their right, their purview, being the organ of legislative authority. And all of those are constitutional, I think, understanding. So I think that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I think it gets back to the issue of if you want to govern the state of Utah like California by initiative, then, okay, that's the road we're going down. And they strongly feel, and I agree with them, that you need to change the Constitution to fix a long-term issue. Because let's say you repeal what we're talking about now is Prop 4, and then here comes Prop 5. I'm making that number up. The next prop, and then you just have the same problem. This is a generational fix to fix it once and for all. If it's in the Constitution, the Utah Supreme Court really can't change that.
Well, yeah, so that's the question. Do you change it via another constitutional amendment, or do you go in and change initiatives to make them more
No, I
permanent?
think they'll try to pass a bill that forwards onto the ballot a question for the Constitution.
So that means you're going to have a constitutional amendment that proposes, initiatives that deal with taxes must pass
the
a
60%, that's on the
then
ballot.
you have the property tax constitutional amendment. Then
you possibly
have,
could if it makes it, yeah.
right. Then you have do you want initiatives do you want the legislature to be able to repeal initiatives, constitutional amendment? Talk about ballot crowding.
Then they're fourth. The other
and then the repeal of Prop 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is a heavy ballot, don't you think?
It's only 4. You could try going to California. There's like 13 every single election.
And compared to 2018,
Right, but we are not
like
California.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. But so that makes my point. Where we can go down the road of where, in my mind,
No, but I'm just saying, logically, what's on our ballot in November? Like, I'm just saying, is that a good strategy for what to put on our ballot in November?
I don't know if it's a good strategy, but it's the reality we have. That and I think they are justified in wanting to just set the record straight once and for all. And the other thing, this is ultimately a vote of the people. It'll be on the ballot. The legislature can throw whatever they want on there. It's the people that will decide. It's pretty hard to argue if these pass or fail. It's in stone, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think it'll be an interesting conversation. I think having the question of whether initiatives basically constitute super legislative authority, right? So that when the people say X, right, no matter what, you can't ever get X adjacent, you can't ever do X sub 1, you can't ever change, which I'm just going to tell you, like the only laws that work like that are the 10 Commandments on a stone tablet. Like all other laws really should be capable of being, or I'm not sure what that word I was looking for there was, being able to be
Amendable.
changed.
Yeah.
Am I hearing you agreeing with the legislature?
Yeah.
She
Okay,
has. She
all right.
always has. Yeah, because
I think
she
Leah's
came
awesome.
from New York, where they don't have initiatives.
Yeah, New
and-
York doesn't have initiatives.
Yeah.
So the argument I have made for the 23 years I've lived here in Utah is, oh my goodness, get these things out.
Yeah.
They just cause drama. And the question is, will the ballot be crowded? Yeah. And then it's like, how much money mounts up for which initiatives, which ones get a full, thorough vetting, whether people are paying attention. My goodness, Lindsay, you and I chatted about redistricting for weeks and no one even knew what was happening. I mean, like, to a certain extent. And then in an election campaign, the kind of information you get, other than this show right here, might not be the best information to make these constitutional arguments. Anyway, I have lots of feelings.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm seeing a potential block for Planned Parenthood from using Medicaid or any clinics really who provide elective abortions. There's some transgender hormone treatment permanent blocks that are going to go into effect potentially. This changing MLK Boulevard to Charlie Kirk Boulevard has bubbled up over the last week.
I just want to interrupt and say it's not MLK Boulevard, it's Harvey Milk
Sorry.
Boulevard. Yeah, so
Harvey
just, right.
Milk Boulevard. Thank you. I wrote MLK and meant That's
forgot
what
the
I
I.
meant.
No, you probably
Yeah.
said milk and then
Yeah. That's what I meant. Thank you. Can't punish teachers for using the wrong pronouns and can't use public money for transgender treatments. What do you guys make of all of these bills? Do you want to drill down on any one of them in particular? Do you see this the same way? Do we need these? What are your thoughts?
So one, I think these are messaging bills, right? So these are people who maybe don't have a great idea for policy. So what they're going to do is run something like, that allows them to talk about the culture issue of the day. The one that I would drill down on is I'm really not comfortable with the state legislature naming a road inside of a locality. I mean, I kind of still think local governance is best governance probably. And if there's an area in Salt Lake City that wanted to name their road Harvey Milk Boulevard, then if you want to have a Charlie Kirk Boulevard, there are a lot of streets in the state of Utah. I'm totally here for like honoring what happened in our state, that pretty tragic event. It doesn't need to take away. How do I say? It doesn't need to be zero sum. I don't understand why you would conflate the honoring of what happened with Charlie Kirk with just being mean to a locality. It just seems to diminish what you're trying to do.
Well, Rusty, presumably you agree with some of these policies, but I mean, do we need to settle these issues? I mean, maybe there is an argument for we need to settle some of these things and just put them in state code so we know the laws.
I think it's fair to give people some leeway that these are issues that are near and dear to many's hearts. I wouldn't be too quick to judge a legislator for just running it as a message. I know a lot of them feel passionately about some of these issues when it comes to these social ones.
Fair.
I'm thankful in my day job I don't have to deal with them because they get very emotional, very combative, those kinds of things. The good sponsor of the Boulevard bill has a unique way of getting everybody's interest up in the issue. And
he got the earned media this week.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
did.
You could pick a boulevard in Orem, maybe where it happened, and it would probably be really not much of an issue. But boy, you've made it an issue of picking. But Salt Lake City. But I'll tell you, Salt Lake City is in a unique spot with the Utah Republican legislature. It ain't a good relationship. And so anytime they can shoot at each other, that's the wrong analogy. Anytime they can poke at each other, they will. And so that's that there. And all the other issues, it is an election year. These are important issues to some people, and it is important for them. They feel like they want to get it passed. I don't think there's anything wrong with passing a bill to prevent something in the future, because many times those predictions come true, meaning it does come in the future. Yeah. We could cite a number of examples.
Yeah, and it's hard to know which bills are going to gain traction and which ones are actually going to pass. Any lawmaker can file any bill, right? So just because these exist right now doesn't mean they're all going to pass, right? They got to get through committees. They got to get on a committee. The rules chairs are very powerful for House and Senate, right? They kind of dictate what starts the legislative process, things like that. So it could be something where they don't all make it through, especially if they don't have the political will. So we'll see.
And I also wonder too, your point's well taken. I thank you. I'm not trying to be judgy. So
Sure.
And if I sounded judgy, I do apologize. But I do wonder when you're running those bills, do you know what I mean? Maybe you are trying to create noise. Yeah, because there's some other bill you're like, we need to get this one through, and we need Lindsay Aerts on Inside Utah Politics to not notice that we're talking about it. That's just where I go.
Yeah.
And
I
maybe
agree.
it's very cynical, but I'm like, if I'm running these loud things that get people's interest up, I instantly go, well, what else is in the 500 bills they're going to pass this year that we're going to worry about?
And one thing I've noticed from the legislature is the really kind of significant policy changes get slipped in. Like there's like a line in a big transportation bill that makes a major shift that I just can't pay attention to, right? So it's like kind of going through the bills with a fine tooth comb to see which comma is placed where that makes it a whole different bill and impacts a whole subset of people.
The commas matter.
The commas matter. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for. I try to weed out the bills that maybe are just, I don't know, fluff or, don't necessarily have a huge policy impact, but it's hard. And there are some that just they're just talkers, right? So we all do our best. That's the moral of the story. We're all doing our best. Take that away from today's show. Rusty Cannon, Leah Murray, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate your opinions as always. Producer Peter, we didn't hear from you much. I'm so sorry, but I love you.
My voice is
I
also
asked for
going a
help.
little bit, so it's I can tell you what I was looking for at that point in just a minute.
Well, we're still glad you're here in your Mountain Man chic outfit. We appreciate it. And make sure you watch Inside Utah Politics this week. We'll have a legislative preview for you. And we'll be back on this show on Thursday. So find it again. And we'll see you then.